oriented because of the wings that fold out, and they come to the ground and they hit like an artillery rocket, and they do significant damage.
How do you stop them?
How do you stop them? You can't stop them. There is no solution to this.
There is no there's no defense system.
The only way you can stop them is shelter. You can reduce against a munition of this type. You can increase your chances of surviving or not being injured by just going into one of these safe rooms that the Israelis have built into all their buildings. The bigger warheads are more problematic because the bigger warheads can knock down the whole building. And if the building gets knocked down, you're going to get crushed in the rubble. But if these smaller munitions, they'll come through the roof of the building and they'll explode. And if you're in a room where this happens, you're dead. I mean, it'll kill you without doubt. But if you're in a specialized room that's protected, there's a much greater chance you will not be injured or killed. So against this kind of munition, what I would call a passive defense has a good chance of working. But you do need to know that they're coming. And right now, the air defense system of the West, the United States and Israel, has effectively already been destroyed. The Iranians destroyed 4 THAAD radars. These are long-range ballistic missile radars. Each of them cost about $300 to $500 million each.
Yeah.
So we lost 4 of those radars.
We have that. Hold on. I think we've got some pictures.
Yeah.
Gene, this is the surveillance and eavesdropping radars that were recently destroyed. We've got a picture of that. Go on, Professor.
Right.
You can talk while we look at these with our audience. There they are.
Yeah. Well, the big radar in Qatar that was destroyed is critical.
This one's in
because it can see the cluster of missiles that are launched from Iran.
That's Qatar.
Yes. THAAD radars do not have the ability to acquire incoming ballistic missiles unless they're told where to look. There's a successful destruction of a radar.
That's the one in Qatar that you were just speaking of, as a matter of fact, right?
Yes. But what I was stunned by, I'll be honest with you, I expected this destruction to happen, but I didn't expect it to happen so completely and so soon. And for reasons I don't understand, there seems to be no significant air defense against these drones. The drones are hard to get. I mean, it's definitely, they fly in low, the radar is very hard to see it. But these installations in the Persian Gulf seem to have essentially no working air defense right from the beginning. Now they have no air defense because the radars have been destroyed. Without a radar, you can't do anything with air defense. I mean, your interceptors may as well be, shot into the air, for fireworks.
But these drones are just a piece of aluminum with wings and a bomb on it. I mean, it's totally primitive, right? I mean, this stuff is not very sophisticated.
Well,
how's that getting through?
The Russians have a statement: "Best is the enemy of good enough." You don't need to be sophisticated. You don't need to spend $1 million on a drone like the Americans do. And in fact, I think this war is actually the beginning of the end of American military dominance, because the Americans do not have the munitions to continue this war at the same intensity it's been going on. We, the Americans, but please don't assume that I'm supporting this.
Yeah.
We Americans do not have a lot of munitions. And, we have, for example, they have used 800 cruise missiles at this point, according to some of the statements I've heard.
Yeah.
Now, we produce 80 cruise missiles a year. That's our production capacity. That's 10 years of cruise missile production. So we just used up 10 years of cruise missile production in a few days. in the Persian Gulf against the Iranians. We cannot sustain this nonsense that's being stated by the Secretary of War Hegseth and the President Trump is total nonsense. This intensity of attack on Iran cannot be maintained for more than a couple of weeks, maybe. And then it's going to be the Iranians firing back. And from what we have so far seen, they can fire back indefinitely. And they have made it clear that they will.
Indefinitely?
Before this war started.
You said indefinitely. That's a strong word, no?
Well, I think this is a war of attrition. And the war is going to be ended on the terms that Iran dictates, not
but I mean,
what the West.
The word indefinitely presumes that they're not going to run out of stuff. I mean, aren't they eventually? If we run out, aren't they going to run out? I mean, where are they getting?
Well, they have production facilities that are oriented toward maintaining their capacity to keep firing. The United States is a capitalist country, of course, as you know, and this preoccupation with private industry has destroyed the American ability to sustain a war of any length. Because when I'm a private manufacturer, in other words, I don't work for the government, I work for myself, I work for my profits. And when I'm a private manufacturer, I build a facility that's just at the limit of what the contract I have from the government asks me for. I don't build it so it can be expanded. That's expensive. That takes away from my profit. So we have this profit-oriented military industry, which is bleeding the American taxpayer dry of funds, destroying our society because there's all kinds of medical and health needs and social needs that are not being properly funded, and it cannot produce at the level that is needed in a situation like this. And this is predictable. This was predictable. So
why didn't we know? Why didn't we know this? I mean, the things that you're saying, frankly, are amazing. I was looking forward to having you on, but the numbers that you're sharing with us and the explanations of why these missiles aren't working, and the fact that you're telling us that you knew they weren't going to work before you watched them not work, this is all really eye-opening. And I'm frustrated as an American that I'm finding out now. I mean, what the hell?
Well, the United States is run by oligarchs. Americans like to point at Russia and say it's run by oligarchs. Putin took care of the oligarchs.
Yes.
Putin did the right thing. He told the oligarchs, you can't do what you're doing because it's not in the national interest of Russia. You can't rape Russia. You can make a profit, but you cannot do it without restraint. So he put them in their place. So Russia is in much better shape than the United States is, because we're run by oligarchs, and these people have no concern about the well-being of the United States. All they want is more for themselves. They have no social interest. They have no sense of social contract. All they want is more money. And we're now seeing the consequences of that in a very significant way. And our press, as you pointed out, also is run by oligarchs. And what the American system should be doing, and I mean, we have the laws to do it, but you need people to enforce it. We should be breaking up all of the ownership of these big journalistic organizations and having them broken into many private organizations,
like the old days,
so that organizations can be run by individuals who have a diversity of interests and views and biases, if you call it.
Yeah.
You no longer have that in the American press.
When I was growing up,
information.
When I was growing up, there was a hometown newspaper and a hometown TV station and 10 hometown radio stations, and my hometown paper, proud to say, was the Miami Herald. Now the Miami Herald is one piece of its giant corporation with 100 newspapers all over the country, or whatever it is, if it hasn't been already bought out. Yeah,
the American press is now very close in terms of how it operates, of what it produces, to the Soviet press at the time of greatest repression and government control.
Yeah.
I mean, the press in Russia, from what I have seen of it, is much more free than the press in the United States.
I can vouch
It may not be as free as some people would like it to be.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like the press in the United States. You have nothing like your show in the United States. We just don't have it. So
it's amazing.
And it's a real problem.
Yeah.
You cannot have a democracy with all this nonsense about democracy and other countries are autocratic and this nonsense that's spouted on American media. We don't have a democracy. You can't have a democracy if you're intentionally misinforming the great bulk of the American people. You know, I know I'm very lucky. It's an accident of my life, and it is an accident of my life. My father was a welder, okay? I did not come out of a highly educated background. As an accident of my life, I now live among highly educated people. Yeah. It's just it's what happens to you when you inadvertently, without even thinking about it, become part of an academic intellectual community.
Yeah.
And I know all these highly educated people who are interested, and they don't know basic facts. And the reason they don't know basic facts is not because they're not interested, not because it's because they haven't understood until they're told, and I've told many of them, that there are other sources of news other than the mainstream press.
Yeah.
Because you can't read the New York Times and get accurate news. It's just, and the Washington Post is even worse.
You have to see this, and you go to my